After half a year waiting, the amazing digital circus has finally returned. A lot has been writing on this episode to prove the long wait was worth it, especially since this episode officially puts us halfway through the show. Luckily, the Digital Circus's 5th episode, Untitled, was absolutely worth the wait, because this episode was an absolute blast. And in all honesty, I'm debating on calling this the show's best episode so far, possibly dethroning episode 3, The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor. This is easily the episode where most of the characters, the comedy, and the writing are at their strongest. So let's start with the easy thing to talk about, the comedy. This is without a doubt easily the funniest episode of the show. This is definitely the most comedic episode so far, and it might not be everyone's cup of tea of an episode firing a bunch of jokes at you, but I personally adored it. I can't think of a single dud in this episode in terms of the comedy. Every single joke landed, from me just chuckling to laughing out loud.
They're enjoying the suggestion box adventures more than the me adventures! What should I do?
You should die. You should throw a beach party. What?
This episode was an absolute comedic riot and easily one of the highlights of the episode. The animation is absolutely stellar as always, but this episode has so many cool moments with the visuals, like the anime scene and the intermission scene, which was so good that I honestly wouldn't mind if they just made that part the main intro for the show. As always, the voice acting is great, with Michael Kovac specifically having some amazing line deliveries.
What is this? Why'd you do that?
All the different adventures the cast go on are all very interesting, and they show off the cast's personalities very well, and they all have their fun moments, especially the softball one, having made Jax, which was a riot, and the evil versions of all the characters. Evil Pomni and Dictator Kinger specifically were definitely standouts, being one of my favorite things about the episode despite their little screen time. And I know for a fact that this episode is going to have a lot of art towards it. But this episode's biggest standout other than the comedy is obviously the characters and their interactions. It was confirmed by Gooseworks that episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6 would focus on developing 1 or 2 characters, including obviously Pomni. And this episode was the Ragatha and Jax episode. But despite this episode specifically labeled for them, I'm happy to say that every character gets a moment to shine in the spotlight and gets some sort of development, and their screen time is balanced perfectly. Pomni continues to be a great character, being entertaining and building relationships with the cast, along with us learning some new stuff about her, like how she used to be an accountant for a supermarket chain and was on the side an unsuccessful YouTuber. And her saying that she liked exploring abandoned buildings could finally reveal how she got trapped in the circus. If you remember in the pilot, Pomni saw the computer and headset in what seemed to be a rundown and abandoned building, so it's really cool to finally learn this stuff about her. In particular, her growing friendship with Jax is one of the most interesting dynamics of the show. They teased the two possibly becoming friends in the last episode, with Jax acting surprisingly nice to Pomni's confusion, even if it was just for a brief moment. And this dynamic is shown even more in this episode, as Jax vents to Pomni about his frustrations with Ragatha, him apologizing to her for the President adventure, Pomni finding his violent antics amusing, and Jax wanting to keep hanging out with Pomni at the end of the episode, shows a growing friendship between the two, and it's piqued my interest into seeing where their dynamic could go, especially if Ragatha's jealousy grows even more. Even little things like Pomni being the only one to vote against Jax wearing the maid outfit shows how much Pomni has started to grow fond of Jax. Aside from her dynamic with Jax, she has great interactions with all the other characters too. Her telling Ragatha it's okay to be mean sometimes and giving her a second chance to bat shows how caring she's started to become towards Ragatha. Her interactions with Kinger continue to be hilarious, and her brief conversation with Zubul about her skills with alcohol was a nice touch so that she gets something with everyone. And while she didn't have an interaction with Gangle, I'm not too bothered given their interactions from the last episode. And Evil Pomni?
Huh? Check this out. You're out, dumb.
Perfect. Kinger once again serves as a comic relief in this episode, and much like in the pilot, he excels at it, delivering a ton of hilarious lines. And I loved how during the president scene, when he brings Pomni under the desk where it's darker, he sounds and acts more normal and less crazy. And it's a thing that the show hasn't forgotten about. And as I said, Dictator Kinger
God damn it!
was amazing. Zubul continues to become a better character in every episode, and she might even be one of my favorites now. Her friendship with Gangle is really wholesome, and her being the only one who's really able to give Jax karma is really fun to watch. And we also learned some new stuff about her, like how she used to be a bartender and a tattoo artist. Gangle is also surprisingly handled well in this episode. I was a bit worried about where her character was going to go after episode 4, as it seemed that there was nothing left to do with her character, but I like what they did with her here. While she still only has her sad mask, she shows many glimpses of being more happy in this episode, and she's shown smiling a lot more. It seems like her coming to terms with her sadness in the last episode has helped her actually become more happy as a result. Her character isn't completely changed, as she still shows signs of sadness, and she still gets bullied by Jax, but I like how for the first time ever, she actually gets back at Jax for being the one to come up with the idea to put him in the maid outfit. Then there's Kane and Bubble. Bubble once again is hysterical and drops a lot of the episode's funniest lines, but Kane is a bit more interesting. He's still enjoyable and funny, but he's a lot more angry and on edge in this episode, with him constantly getting frustrated at the fact that no one likes his adventures. It could be a tease of him getting more and more hostile in the next episodes, but we'll just have to wait and see where his character is gonna go. Now let's get to the real main characters of this episode, Jax and Ragatha. Jax is easily at his best in this episode in my opinion. He's definitely at his funniest, with many of his one-liners getting a big laugh out of me, but he gets quite a bit of development in this episode too. Possibly revealing he used to have a friend in the circus who abstracted, and is teased even more during the intermission scene. His growing friendship with Pomni, the fact that he still refuses to share his backstory before the circus, and the fact that he's afraid of corn for some reason. His possible worry if Gangle will ever be happy, and his vent to Pomni about his frustrations with Ragatha's kindness are all incredibly interesting and add a lot more to his character and his relationships with the other characters. Same thing goes for that look that he gives to Ragatha after she apologizes to him. Him giving no rebuttal and being completely speechless is so interesting for a character like him. It's no knowledge that the next episode will have a heavy focus on him also, and Gooseworks has seemingly teased that he is going to do something truly irredeemable. And for how he acted in this episode, this just makes me even more excited and skeptical for what he'll do. And finally, Ragatha. We get quite a lot of her character here. We learn that she was a rich farm girl, which was teased in her drunk state in the last episode, and we learned about her possibly abusive relationship with her mother, which could be the reason as to why she's always being kind and optimistic. This is also the very first time in the show where we've really seen her lash out in anger. It really seems that she's growing jealousy of Jax growing a better friendship with Pomni than her, and she's starting to become aware of how people don't really believe her kindness is genuine, as she's left alone at the end of the episode. This is what I've been waiting to see with Ragatha's character for a while, so I'm thankful it's finally being given, and I will still as of now believe that she is going to be the one to abstract in the next episode, or as the show keeps going. Before I continue, I want to give a brief attention to the NPC at the end of the episode. I previously had a problem with it since I thought it came out of nowhere until I rewatched this episode and some of the previous ones to notice that this guy has actually been here the entire time in the background, which is a really cool detail that's finally been addressed. It just goes to show that Gooseworks has a plan for how things in this show are going to go, even if there are things that you don't even notice at first. Really solid job on her part, and I'm very intrigued to see what happens with this guy. Untitled easily has the best utilization of the characters out of any episode in this show. Everyone gets a solid amount of screen time, no one feels wasted or out of place, and their interactions are funny, intriguing, and wildly entertaining. But despite how much I've been praising this episode, nothing is perfect. And my one real complaint with this episode is I feel like some parts go by a little too fast. Like some of the adventures like Jax's hunting one or President Pomni go by so fast that I wouldn't be surprised that someone would just forget that they're in the episode. I feel like they should have gone on a little bit longer, or just get taken out of the episode and make some like the softball one longer. The anime and the stargazing adventure are both solid and about as long as I would have liked them to be, and the bar one was fantastic and easily the best part of the episode. But overall, Untitled was absolutely worth the wait, and it's almost everything that I could have asked for. This episode has everything that I wanted from this show. Hilarious absurd humor, a fun storyline, solid pacing, good character development, and amazing character interactions. I really wasn't expecting it to be this good. This episode and the past two have fully convinced me that this show will just continue to get better and better, and I can't wait for the next episode. So I'm going to give Untitled an 8.75 out of 10.